Hi, I'm Joel Alsop, and this is St. Jude Storied Lives. So I'm lucky enough to get to talk to some of the patients of St. Jude Children's Research Hospital and get to know who they are outside of their cancer story. And that's what I get to share with you on this podcast. You see, I was a St. Jude patient too when I was a kid, and I really know how important it is to have a chance to be yourself, to have fun, feel normal, and feel like life isn't stopping because of this. It's just a pause. And for many patients, that's exactly how it goes. Treatment moves from start to finish, and then they go back to their regular lives. A lot of times, they don't even miss a beat. But some patients have a recurrence, and that means they have to come back to St. Jude to begin treatment again. And that's what happened with Amy.
The first time it was kind of, my mom took care of calling the school and telling people, and I just, wasn't around for a while. But the second time, because I was older, I remember calling up my friends that night and saying, I've relapsed, I'm not going to be at school for a while. And just kind of that ownership of kind of the reporting of it, because here I'm trying to be strong for myself, but then I'm trying to be strong for them too. And so that was definitely put another layer on top of it.
So Amy grew up in central Illinois near the town of Peoria. And that's a place with a special connection to St. Jude, and you'll hear more about that in just a few minutes. When she was young, Amy says her life was laid back and easygoing. She filled her days playing with friends and having fun. She says it was a pretty great life.
Normal, average, stereotypical, whatever you want to say. Single mom, but had my aunt and uncle and my grandmother that lived right next door, so still a big awesome family unit. And just love living in my hometown, pumpkin capital of the world, all of that. So just pretty average until I turned 10 and started 6th grade. Then life changed quite a bit.
Yeah. And I've heard your story a few times before, so tell us about that. What was a sign that something was going on when you were 10 years old?
Yeah, so 6th grade had just started, and, I was excited to be with my friends, but I kind of just had this blah feeling. I couldn't put my finger on it, couldn't describe it really, but I just didn't feel right. And as school started, I just wasn't getting excited, wasn't wanting to hang out with my friends as much. So my mom took me to the doctor because she's like, obviously you need an antibiotic or, something's going on. And really didn't think too much of it because 10-year-old kid, right? There's nothing too seriously wrong with you.
Yeah, for sure.
And doctor thought the same thing, routine checkup, routine blood work, and sent me on my way home. And that night, he called my mom because the lab had just called him and just said, something's wrong with this blood work. And so kind of started the whole journey to St. Jude.
So obviously you go back, you see the doctor. What does he tell you specifically is wrong with the blood work? What is up?
It took a while. We had to go to the hospital. It was kind of middle of the night and they're doing some more tests and blood work. And I just remember thinking everybody needs to leave me alone because I have a spelling test the next day.
Yeah,
I already stink at spelling. So I need all the help I can get. I need to get some sleep so I can at least try to pass this test. So it's probably 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning at this point. My doctor walks in and I was sitting just on the hospital bed.
Yeah.
Kind of cross-legged. So he climbs up on the hospital bed, cross-legged, sits down, stares me straight in the eye and says, okay, well, we finally figured out what's wrong with you. You have something called acute lymphoblastic leukemia, and that's a type of cancer of the blood. Yeah. And I just immediately remember kind of pausing, it's time stood still because I had heard of cancer.
Yeah.
As a 10-year-old kid, my experience was it was 2 gentlemen from our church had it, but they had both died. So, it was in this time frozen moment, I remember realizing that, okay, my biggest worry is no longer spelling. My biggest worry is surviving.
Yeah.
And vividly remember looking over at my mom and saying, Mom, does this mean I'm going to die? And of course, tears kind of just streaming down her face. And she wanted to be honest. So she said, I don't know what's going to happen. But my doctor kind of said, well, we don't know the future. But we do know that St. Jude Children's Research Hospital is the absolute best place for your daughter. So that's where we're going to send you all. And my mom's initial response was, I'm a single parent. I can't afford this. And my doctor, without even missing a breath, said, it's St. Jude. You don't have to worry about any of that. And my mom just literally fell back against the wall and started to sob. And it was in that moment that I realized oh, this is a big deal.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. And, on top of that, you're leaving home, this home that you love so much. What was that like for you to know you had to pack up and go away for a little while?
I mean, a little surreal. Like at first it was kind of like, oh, I get to go to Memphis. Like, kind of like, oh, I get to get out of school. All right. But then that like, oh, it's not really vacation anymore.
Yeah.
I'm in the hospital and I'm
Yeah.
sick and I don't feel well. Like started to really sink in. Definitely started to miss my friends and family. And they were wonderful. My whole class like sent cards and like banners and phone calls, and my extended family would try to come down and visit a couple of times. So they did their best to make it feel like I was still surrounded.
Yeah,
But
that's
yeah,
amazing.
I mean, a hotel room was not my room at home, and so it was definitely started to miss just some of those aspects of just being a kid and playing and getting to just live quote unquote normal life. But walking through the doors, especially the first time, I remember my mom and I both, like, here we are full of doubts and questions and fear and anxiety and, you name it. And just walking in and, kind of greeted by somebody right there at a reception desk. And you could just tell my mom was like deer in headlights. And she just said, we're new, we don't know what to do. And the woman at registration, I don't even remember her name, but I just remember her jumping up and coming over to my mom and giving her this big hug and just saying, it's okay, we got you. And me realizing in that moment, like feeling not just like the embrace my mom was getting, but this just embrace from like the walls around us, the love and the protection, the hope that was, kind of engulfing us. And realizing, okay, St. Jude's a place that's not just going to like treat this disease I have. It's this place that's going to take care of me, take care of my mom. It truly is this like family, this home away from home that just engulfs you in love and hope and protection and warmth.
That beautiful love, protection, warmth also comes with this world-class care. What can you tell us what your treatment was like? How long you had to be here? What that schedule was like for you to treat your leukemia?
Absolutely. So we were here for about 2.5 months initially, and it was what we call like induction. So that for those who maybe don't know is just kind of like all this chemo to get rid of the cancer. And so the day after my 11th birthday, I was declared in remission. So I'm thinking, awesome, hard part's done. I get to go home. Like life's going to be great. Not realizing that I now had 2.5 years of what they call maintenance. So this was kind of the daily, weekly medications to kind of try to make sure that the cancer was gone. And we were lucky that we had a clinic in the Peoria area where I'm from to be able to do those kind of daily, weekly things. But we still had to come to Memphis every 6 weeks for a high dose of chemo for that 2.5 year duration. And I remember lots of spinal taps. I remember lots of sticks. At one point, they had to stick me 27 times to start one IV. At that point, I got a port, which was easier access IV then. But, I don't remember. I told somebody one time, it's kind of like remembering a dream. I remember some of it, but not the specific details. It's kind of foggy and cloudy, and maybe because I was kind of out of it for some of the time. But I remember the trips. I remember being here, remember kind of always being greeted. I don't remember the bad stuff as much, except for spinals. I do remember spinals and never liking those days. But yeah, it was about 2.5 years total the first time.
Okay. So that 2.5 years, get back home, go through middle school, junior high, move on to high school, thinking everything's great.
Yeah.
And
Not so much.
Then what happened?
Yeah, so I went off treatment right at the very end of 8th grade. So I'm thinking, I'm going to start high school. I'm finally going to be like this normal life, get back to everything that I felt like I'd missed out on. And I did for about 1.5 years till the middle of my sophomore year of high school. And I got that blah feeling again. And oh my goodness, I tried to like will it out of existence, try to make sure, it's just a virus. It's nothing. It's the flu. And sure enough, it wasn't. I had relapsed. So, and kind of had to start everything all over again.
How did that feel when you get that news?
Bad, for sure, I was angry, just like, oh my goodness, I just went through all this 2.5 years of my life, all this, and now I have to do it again. So anger, frustration, just almost shock a little bit. But despite all of that, like all of those kind of negative emotions, as you can imagine, just with this, devastating diagnosis, there was a little bit less anxiety, I guess, than there was the first time, kind of because I actually knew what to expect this time and knew it wasn't going to be fun, but like at least knew, okay, St. Jude's there. I know the doctors, I know the nurses, I kind of know the protocols. So that gave me a little bit less anxiety. But yeah, I was not happy at my doctor that day.
I'll bet not. And how about your family? How did they react when they heard this news?
Kind of the same, just kind of like, but we've done this already, kind of like we went through it all. And, my mom was a single parent, always had been. And she had actually lost her job when I was going through the first time, just because she was gone so much.
Yeah.
And she decided that she wanted to go back to school for nursing, actually, just with all of my experience. And so she was kind of in the process of trying to go back to school, a little bit at a time. Well, now, like, that was going to have to be put on hold. Like, it was just kind of like our life has to be put on hold again. So that just kind of devastation of everything having to change again was something that we all felt. But again, just knowing that St. Jude was there was kind of that little like silver lining peace of mind of like, okay, it stinks, but we know we've got somebody who's got our back.
And obviously going from 10 the first time to 15 the second time, mentally it's a different experience. I'm sure different experience for friends as well. How did they react as this came and you had to go again?
Yeah, it affected my friends a little bit more this time, just because, the first time it was kind of, my mom took care of calling the school and telling people, and I just, wasn't around for a while. But the second time, because I was older, like, I remember calling up my friends that night and saying, like, I've relapsed, I'm not going to be at school for a while. And just kind of that ownership of kind of the reporting of it, like, kind of rocked my world a little bit.
Oh, gosh, yes.
And just like having my friends cry and experience that, because here I'm trying to be strong for myself, but then I'm trying to be strong for them too. And so that was definitely put another layer on top of it. And yeah, just, kind of the social, the emotional, the everything you're going through. Teenage years are so hard anyway. You're finding yourself, you're finding your path. And then to kind of be completely derailed off of that path was definitely a challenge. But, I was able to find some great friendships at St. Jude and kind of find that camaraderie that maybe I wasn't able to have at home as much just because they wanted to be there but just didn't understand. I think that's one of the beautiful things about St. Jude is they kind of built in those, that family, that extended family, they built in those connections. So I definitely got it when I was going through treatment.
And the treatment itself, was it any different this second time around?
It was.
Okay.
Being a relapse protocol, it was, they say like 5 times stronger, which meant I was 5 times sicker, 5 times weaker. So, the first time I was in the hospital, maybe a couple days here and there, sick every once in a while. But the second time I was in the hospital, like almost 100 days in my junior year of high school, I completely lost all of my muscle tissue. So as my friends were like, hey, I'm learning how to drive. And I'm like, I'm learning how to walk again. So it definitely changed kind of just everything that I was experiencing as a teenager and shifted it. But I think through all of that, it really gave me a different perspective than some of my friends had. And, I think a perspective that I really value, especially now that I'm older, and one that I think a lot of people maybe don't get until they're older or until they've experienced heartache or loss, and that doesn't come until you're older. And so for all the difficult things, there's, I think, some beautiful things that I really appreciate now that experience gave me.
And, I mean, you touched on it there and a little bit in the question before. What did it mean to you to have those connections as a teenager, whether it was patient or staff at St. Jude? What do those connections here in Memphis mean to you?
It just meant I wasn't alone. It meant my mom wasn't alone, and just it can be such an isolating experience, when I'm sitting there in a room by myself with chemo or something like that where I can't really talk to anybody because I feel so sick, or like I knew I wasn't ever alone, but I felt lonely sometimes. And then to realize, okay, like I can look over and there's somebody who's going through the exact same thing, and just to be able to have those conversations or to be able to connect on a level, or to be like, I just don't want to talk today, and then be like, I get it. Yep. We'll just sit here together. And to not feel like I had to be on or answer questions, and where my friends back home, just not being in those same experiences, didn't understand that. And so it just meant that, despite this lonely feeling, that I was never alone. And that was definitely a mental game changer, which, for as physical as it is, it's such a mental battle too, that really helped shift my mindset. And there were definitely some days where I needed my mindset shifted.
Yes, for sure. Well, a great thing about your story too is kind of that area you're from. This is initially how we met too.
Yeah.
That Peoria area has beautiful connections to St. Jude. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Absolutely. So Peoria is blessed to have a clinic, a St. Jude clinic there. It was the first clinic, actually. And so I kind of grew up always knowing about St. Jude. My mom, as a teenager, did like teen marches and things like that for Danny Thomas, and never thinking that we would need St. Jude. So the Peoria community was this blessing in disguise to just be so aware of and know about and supporting St. Jude already. And having so many amazing events. So while maybe my friends didn't get it, like the community understood St. Jude, and I was able to feel like I could be a part of that, when I was home as well.
Yeah. And of course, the biggest thing and how we met that they do is the St. Jude Memphis to Peoria run. So crazy people. We relay 465 miles between here and Peoria. Can you give us a description of that and how you got involved and what that's like?
Crazy people is right. So I first met the runners, just again, being from the Peoria area. I was down during that initial period of treatment. So I was down, for one of those high doses and saw the runners. And so, again, knew about the run, thought these people were crazy because, running in my book was like almost as bad as chemo. It kind of still is. But I just, I was like, okay, these people are running. And at that time, they were able to kind of see the patients again. In the 80s, things were a little bit different. Yeah. And so, I had people come in and being like, oh, you're from that area. We're running for you. And I'm like, you don't even know me. What are you doing? But their heart and their compassion for wanting to help the patients and to do good. This event is just full of just the most passionate, crazy, dedicated people who really kind of try to put themselves literally in the shoes of patients and trying to, run for them and stay up all night for them and things like that. And so I was so moved by their willingness to do that. And I had a great friend who was going through the treatment, one of those who sat next to me during clinic days. And we made this pact. We said, we are going to run together when we're old enough, when we're strong enough, healthy enough, we're going to do this. And sadly, he passed away about 6 months after we made that pact. So obviously never got the chance. But when I grew up and was healthy enough and strong enough, I knew I owed it to him, but also to myself to start doing this. So I always say I don't run fast, I don't run far, but I still run or trot along. And it's grown for me to be something that I started doing for him and for myself. But then I kind of started to do it for all these other patients to prove to them there is life on the other side of this, to give them some hope. But sorry, I might even get emotional. Now I participate for my own kids to show them, miracles can happen, and your mom is one of them, and that we have to keep giving back because that's what it's all about.
Yeah. It's a beautiful event, and I'm going to give our listeners a little bit of background on this so they don't think we run 465 miles.
No.
Like I said, it's a relay, so essentially you have you're running between 2 and 4 mile segments, and then you're off for 8 hours. Another team picks up, so you're running probably between 5 and 10 2 to 4 mile segments. So it's not as crazy as it sounds.
No, it's the staying up all night.
Yes.
It's all that. But I mean, even 2 miles is crazy.
Well, it's usually in August, so you're getting August heat and 2 miles all along the Mississippi River. So it's humid the whole way up.
It is, but it's a great experience, and it's something that's grown into even more runs, kind of that all filter into the Peoria community, and it's an amazing way to see how St. Jude touches so many lives, and how cancer touches so many lives, and how we can actually all come together for something really, really good out of something that's really, really bad.
And obviously something really, really good from the run happened for you.
It did. At least I claim that it's good. I don't know if he does, but no. So when I was 16, so here I had relapsed, and so I was still going through treatment, but 16 was the age at the time that you could start doing this run, and I was bound and determined to go because I'm like, I'm 16. I don't care if I'm on treatment. I'm going. And they were very generous, the organizers, Mike McCoy, in allowing me to kind of tag along. I knew I couldn't go and run and all that, but allowed me to kind of tag along, be a little mascot or something, if you will. And so I was kind of put in the motorhome with the Jones boys at the time. And so here I was 16, and I met Ryan Jones, and he was in college at the time, and we kind of got this little friendship. I'm sure I was just this annoying little teenager at the time, but we kind of just developed this friendship. And so every year after that, for about 8 years, we would kind of like see each other at runtime. Oh, how's it going? How's school? How's life? Kind of checking in with each other. And finally, 8 years later, when we were both kind of adults and in the right place in the right time and season of our life, we kind of like, hey, let's hang out, let's do dinner. And we've been doing dinners together ever since.
That's beautiful. And I have to plug myself here too. I met my wife, who is a former St. Jude patient, at a St. Jude event. So St. Jude events are great.
I mean, they're fantastic. You may have to deal with some, like I said, some bad, but hey, some pretty good stuff can come.
And obviously had another big influence on you. You're now one of my coworkers here at ALSAC, the fundraising and awareness organization for St. Jude. Why did you want to come back and work here?
I wanted to just say thank you. There's so many people over the years. I mean, gosh, almost 35 years now that I've been a patient. Thousands of people that I will never see, never be able to talk to, never be able to say thank you to, that I know were a part of my story, that continue to be a part of all these patient stories. And to just be able to be a part of thanking them, a part of bringing that back to patients who are, still part of their journey. I just wanted to be able to say thank you in the smallest way that I could, and with the impact that I could. I am not science, math. School was never really quite my thing, so I knew I could never be a nurse or a doctor or a researcher, right? And I really joke that I really don't have many other talents at all, but I can share my story. I can try to give back in the meager ways that I can. And so it was really important to me to try to do that. Like I said, I know the people that have been a part of my story. And I wanted to be a part of all these other patient stories moving forward because it means so much to me.
And what's it like for you whenever you come back to campus? See the progress that we've made, not only on campus, but the research and the treatment that we're doing too. It's
just kind of mind-blowing, because I thought it was impressive 35 years ago. And to just see how it's constantly growing and expanding. And what gets me as much as the state of the art, the research and the statistics and all of these things that I don't always understand, but just this knowledge and data that is constantly happening, I'm so blown away by. But even to see these places that really have nothing to do with treatment, the places that are growing, the housing, the new family commons, these areas that are really just to make life better when you're here, that really are nothing like any other institution would do, just blows me away, because it shows me that it's not even just about these survival rates and these statistics and the disease again. It's not just about treating that disease. It is about taking the information and the experiences of all of these patients and all of these families and trying to give them the best life possible, even while they're here. And so to see the campus grow in such amazing ways, even in those areas, is just so humbling to know that, I matter that much. These patients matter that much. The disease, let's knock it out of the park. But these patients, these families, they matter. And, the people over everything else. And to see the campus growing in ways that really accommodate that is just so gratifying.
Beautifully said. And, we talked a little bit about your life now and how it's going. You've got your wonderful husband, Ryan. In addition to that, you're got kind of the bigger, normal life going on. What else has happened in life?
I mean, I'm full-on PTO mom a little bit, which is great. Yeah, all I ever wanted was to kind of have this normal life, and I'm definitely living it now. So I have 2 awesome kiddos, a freshman in high school and a 3rd grader, and so life is just busy with them and their activities and, doing laundry and making dinner and being chauffeur everywhere under the sun, but it's great. And I always say, it may not be a momentous moment, but every moment is a gift. And I think one of those silver lining things that came, the good from the bad, was that I really, really value that. I really take every single moment as a gift and appreciate it. And even when I'm maybe yelling at a kiddo as they're walking out the door, I'm like, but you're thankful for the opportunity to do so. And, that's something that I hope I never take for granted, and something that St. Jude gave me.
every moment is a gift. It is a gift to have you as a friend. It is a gift to see the progress you've made and hear about your family. So thank you so much for the gift of sharing your story with us today.
Oh, thank you. It's a pleasure.
Sometimes it's a long and difficult journey to get back to normal, and Amy knows that firsthand. No patient ever wants to hear their cancer has returned, but knowing St. Jude is there to support the whole person, not just cure the cancer, it really goes a long way to helping people feel like they can get back to a normal life. And that's just another way that St. Jude proves its long-term commitment to patients. And for people like Amy, St. Jude is here today, tomorrow, and far into the future. You can support that mission, and you don't even have to run 465 miles through the middle of the country to do it. All you have to do is go online to stjude.org or click the link in the episode description. This podcast is a production of ALSAC, the fundraising and awareness organization for St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. It's recorded by Jason Latshaw and Andres Garcia, produced by Jeffrey Reddick, edited by Grace Korziqua Evans, music production by Casimir Boyle. Lewis Graham is the executive producer. I'm Joel Alsop. Thanks for listening, and join us next time.